Shalom, shalom, shalom. Boy, I was so happy when I saw this. uh, but in any case, first and foremost, call halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kadash. Double honors go out to the apostles and elders, bishops, great millstone, who continue through the Holy Spirit to give us His truth. This is Naaman with the DC camp. And yeah, this is from U.S. News. It says video shows Florida police sergeant grabbing fellow officer by her throat. And this just highlights more and more division and how, these people are, because of what's going on here with this bug, this pandemic, and, people's nerves are frayed, and, which is by design. All right. It says the Sunrise police chief said he stripped the unidentified sergeant of his supervisory responsibilities after hearing about the November 19th incident. So this happened in November, all right, which was caught on camera. All right, I will play that. Just hold up. It says a Florida police sergeant has been relieved of his supervisory responsibilities. Just read that. It says Sunrise Police shared body camera video of the November 19th incident, but the footage was muted with faces blurred. Yeah, there's no sound except for the sergeant. He said police officers were arresting a verbally and physically resistive suspect who was, guess what? A Jake. Accused of a violent felony. We have to let you know this, of course. When the unidentified sergeant arrived and became aggressive with him. Now, I just want you to notice, keep that in mind what they just said here. The sergeant engaged in a verbal altercation with the suspect, sitting inside a patrol vehicle, and escalated the encounter. The police body camera footage showed the sergeant ducking his head inside the patrol vehicle to talk to the suspect and holding a can of pepper spray, though he did not deploy it. Rosa called the sergeant's behavior inappropriate and unprofessional and said he unnecessarily elevated the demeanor of the suspect. And see, this is what they do. That's why we try to... Enough of this is not taught in our community. I wonder why, because a lot of the males are raised by fucking women, all right? And they all emotional as a result. But you have to understand, this is what these motherfuckers want you to do. They want you to fly off the handle, lose your head, lose your cool, so they can respond. And oftentimes when they respond, what? It's going to be with excessive force, which would lead to either bodily injury all the way to death, or both. All right? This is what they do. This is how they're taught. All right? It's something called, what is it called? Well, never mind. Anyway, but just realize that you are, once they roll up on you, all right, hey, just, officer, how can I help you? Blah, 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 blah. Watch what you say and more importantly, how you say it. All right? Because they're just looking for any opportunity, all right, to put work in on you. All right, you know what I mean? It says a concerned officer ran toward the sergeant and pulled him by the back of his duty belt. The video footage shows the sergeant turn around while backpedaling as he was pulled by the officer. He then momentarily places his hand at the throat of the officer and pushes her backward until her back hits a nearby police vehicle, according to the clip and the statement from the chief. The sergeant then walks away. Let's go ahead and play this beautiful footage. Actually, let me play this one first because I have a... What the hell? Sorry about that. Anyway, here we go. Now remember, there's no sound on this. So now they got to Jake. He's in the car. He's handcuffed. All right. He scoots over. I don't know if somebody's on the other side pulling him over, but he's under control. All right. See that? Now, here comes the jackass. Now here she goes to pull him off. He's in there trying to inside him. He's got to see. It happened so quick. So see, these motherfuckers, these race soldiers, as someone calls them, they get off on. Now you're gonna release pepper spray in a tiny enclosed space like that. What do you think's gonna happen? That's tantamount to torture, right? So they love doing shit like this to Jake. Now, I think this is a better view, despite the commercial. Salakia. Come on, man. All right, here we go.
Tonight, body cam video showing a veteran sergeant allegedly physically assaulting a fellow officer on the job. The police chief calling the behavior disgusting. In the video released by Sunrise Police in Florida, the audio is muted and most faces blurred by the department, citing an internal investigation. The November 19th incident shows a sergeant who police confirmed to be Christopher Police arriving on site as officers.
Damn, that's his name?
Handcuffs into the backseat of a police car. The sergeant is then seen approaching the vehicle and engaging with the suspect. Video shows the sergeant holding what police say is pepper spray. Nearby, an officer whose name has not been released approaches the sergeant from behind in what the police chief says was an effort to de-escalate the encounter, then pulls the sergeant backwards by his belt. The sergeant turns and places his hands at the throat of the officer, then pushes the officer backward until the intervening officer makes contact with a nearby police car before pulling back. According to a statement released by the department, upon learning of the incident, the police chief immediately relieved the sergeant of his supervisory duties, saying his actions, quote, unnecessarily elevated the demeanor of the suspect, adding that he is, quote, very proud of the other officer involved in the incident. Police confirmed that officer is 28 years old, on the Sunrise Force for just over 2.5 years. Police is a 21-year-plus veteran of the force, according to the department.
Certainly in more recent months, post George Floyd, for an example, many departments are now making sure they train their officers to be able to intervene if there's an officer who may be going outside of his or her boundaries.
This incident in Sunrise, Florida, months after the state's governor, Ron DeSantis, signed a police use of force bill which, in part, requires the creation of training standards teaching on-duty officers to intervene when other officers use excessive force and to render necessary medical aid to a detained person following an officer's use of force. Now, states including Arkansas, Colorado, Massachusetts, and Washington have passed laws requiring law enforcement to intervene when another officer is using excessive force, and in at least one state, they can even be held liable for not doing so. While the case of the Florida police sergeant remains under investigation, Alexander says police department and legislative changes could spark meaningful change. What do you think some of those legislative changes will mean for policing as a whole?
Well, I think what it would mean is that we go continue to go into the 21st century. Communities across this country are continually asking for police accountability and transparency. And people deserve to have a good police department and one that which they feel that they can trust.
All right, Zinkley Asamoah joins us now live from here in 30 Rock. So Zinkley, my question to you is that sergeant that we're seeing in the video attack the other officer, has that sergeant put out any kind of statement, saying anything in his defense? And then also, do we know anything about his background?
Yeah, Tom, so we have put several asks out. We still have not heard from the sergeant, but the police department tells us he did have 2 instances of excessive force from 20 years ago, but those were, quote, unsustained. That said, as I mentioned, he has not responded to our request for comment. And in this specific case, we still don't have the name of that young officer who intervened. Tom?
See, more and more division. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. All right. This is one of these signs, you know. This is Mark 3. I will start at 24. It says, if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. All right? Can't. It's impossible. See, and that's why we tell you that, again, be forewarned. Especially when you're dealing with people like this now. I'm talking about these police. You gotta understand. Things from their point of view aren't as they were. You don't know what's going on with them in their personal life. They're seeing also the country falling apart. You know, they're, I don't know, in a kind of shock, I guess you can say. The only reason I'm saying this is because it affects our people. So you don't know how they're going to respond. So it's best to just you be cool, all right, cooperate, live to see another day, go home to your family, all right? As it says in the scriptures, everything's in the scriptures. Let's go to Matthew 5, scroll on down. It says what? Agree with thine adversary quickly. This sums up everything I've been telling you. Agree with thine adversary quickly whilst thou art in the way with him. Contrary to what Jake actually does, because, as I said earlier, a lot of our men have been raised by women. Lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. A lot of times, the majority of times, Jake just don't know when to shut the fuck up, don't know when to quit. So you're pushing buttons also. And hey, you got to realize they got the power. You don't. All right? So the odds are greatly in their favor. Have been. You got to remember, we're serving out our punishment here. This is never meant for us to prosper and relax. This is, in other words, this is not the kingdom. All right? This is not the kingdom. Never was, never will be. All right? This place is falling apart, which is a good thing. This is a great time to be alive. And as I said that, you know, if you're in your right mind, you don't want to stay here. Notice I said in your right mind. This is Sirach or Ecclesiastes chapter 25, verse 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. And this is where we at now. We're seeing this motherfucker go down. We're seeing the curses, all right, that were put on us being transferred to him. This is Deuteronomy 30 and 7. It says, "And the Most High Yahweh, thy power, will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." Who's that talking about? It's not talking about them fake Jews over there, the ones that are occupying the land now. They do not fit the curses. Never have. All right? And this is something that these so-called churches have failed miserably. All right? Because you got to understand, this whole thing was set up as punishment for us. The people that oppress us and have enslaved us, their biblical nationality is Edom. They're the descendants of Jacob's brother. We are Jacob. They're descendants of Jacob's brother Esau. So they have no hope for repentance. They are the wicked. All right? So why are you going to go to his schools of trying to learn about a God who happens to be the God of the Hebrews, which you are. Why are you going to go to your enemy and expect him to tell you the truth? Is my main point about you. You see how retarded that is? And Jake get caught up in pomp and circumstance. What I mean by this in this instance is this Edomite, he gets off on pretending to be so wise, and well, not so much wise, but intelligent. There's a little difference between the two. His intellect. And he uses all these long words that really just there to try to impress people. All right? And our people get caught up in that shit. Okay? I've never seen that in the Bible. You know, as it dealt with Paul, said, you know, they are paraphrasing, but keep things simple so people can understand. All right? Which is the exact opposite of what this, you go to his theology institutions, or even just his so-called higher learning institutions, period. And it's all about, you know, it's putting forth that that image, all right, you know, that exterior veneer, I guess you could say. Well, I'm intelligent, you know, but he's the dumbest mother effer on the planet. Look at the way this planet is now under his stewardship. In any case, with that, that's going to be all. That's, you know, just a little something just to highlight how divided, you know, and a lot of these people, they're not going to be on the force when things go to shit. All right? They're going to be worried about their own families. Hey, so with that, shalom.